Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4, and today is weekly challenge number 42, and we're going to be using the Aprilia Tuono V4 1100 factory from 2019 in the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix. So in today's video I'm going to be giving you some assistance and some guidance on how to get the gold lap time of a 1:21.3 right here in the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix, rhyming accidentally. So the Aprilia is a bit of a beast. It's a rather heavy, larger motorcycle, so you are going to probably reduce the anti-wheelie and maybe even traction control. For a bit of guidance, I used anti-wheelie 1 for the majority of this video, and towards the end I reduced it to 0. Traction control remained at 0 throughout the entire duration of the runs, and engine braking remained at 2. My usual setup for engine braking is usually set at number 2 for the electronics. Now this track is all about speed and acceleration and keeping the flow of the motorcycle. The flow is very, very important in this track because it's not so much a sense of hard braking zones and really slamming on the anchors at the right point. It's more so about following a certain flow where you can reduce the amount of time you're braking. It's a interesting track. I think it's going to be relatively easy for the majority of us, but for me it actually goes against the grain. I much prefer harder, firmer braking zones rather than a flowing circuit. So as this lap is coming to an end, this is the basically introductory lap, so I'm just trying to get used to the track again. It's been a while since I've been here in the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix, so let's get this first lap out of the way with, and then let's do the full breakdown of the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix. So going into turn 1, immediately on the right hand side of the tyre, get into there and just trail brake into the right hand side. Follow this deep line on the track there, that's where you want to be a majority of this particular Grand Prix. Left hand side, you want to be moving in towards the shadow that is reflecting on the bottom of the track there, as you can see as we go into the left hander. Take a wider line here going to the left hand side to then bring it in into turn 3 for a Quebec. If you go too tight to the apex there, you might not make it, or you'll make a V shape going into that particular corner. I think with the Aprilia it's best to do a wider line. I will show you towards the end of the video because I did try and test this theory in the sense of going for a tighter braking zone, and both kind of worked. I guess it's down to preference and how you want to try it. But going into Moss, very difficult corner to get right. I do feel that that's going to be the corner to probably catch out the majority of us, so be careful going into that very, very tight hairpin. So continue to bring on the acceleration, move the bike to the left hand side here. You've got to be positioned on the left here, otherwise you go to the right, you're going to not make the corner. Go to the left here, move it into the right hand side and brake just as you see that really thick, deep parts of the track there. It's very hard for me to give you a pinpoint spot exactly where to start braking, but if you use that sort of racing line, you can get a good feel on when you want to be slamming on the anchors. Not too firm, not too hard, just go a little bit, 50%, 65%, just to slow the motorcycle down. So onto the right hand side, you can see it going for a little bit of a tighter braking zone there, and to see the difference compared to the Ghost. Usually for me, I don't like having the Ghost on. I do tend to find that I compete with it or just get a little bit too focused upon it. I'm just leaving that on for your benefit right now. So as I mentioned, Quebec, move it over to the left hand side, brake nice and early to get the right angle perfectly done. Go for a wider exit if you want, go for the tighter line, entirely up to you. Just try and work it out, see what works out better for you. We all have our different styles. Now onto the left hand side, going under the shadow of the bridge, get onto the left hand side here, just go really wide to the left there and then pull it in. Pull it into the right hander. You don't want to be braking on an angle going uphill into the right because there's just not enough lean angle for you. Take the wider angle for have the long circle going into Moss and then down into the little bit of a hill to then bring on the acceleration to this point here. Flying down the back straight underneath the Canadian Tyre bridge sign, and then we'll go hard on the brakes towards the deeper, darker parts of the track. It's a really difficult track for me to point out things. I'm struggling already as to just to mention what it is because it's more of a feeling track. Road America had a lot of these corners where it's just a sense of feeling and understanding how much acceleration you can use and how much braking you can use. So the best thing I could advise, keep trialing this track. Just keep trialing it. Just go on for a couple of runs, even what I did in this video. Just jumped on, did a couple of laps here and there and just got a good feel for it. Wasn't even pushing that hard at first, just trying to understand what is the best part to go for. So if you can follow my lines and stay within where I'm doing is probably the best suggestion I can give you. So onto the right hand side, this time the tighter apex, sticking really close to the darker line on the track. Kind of worked out, but that was my preference in the sense of braking a little bit harder for the right hander. But in turn we did lose a little bit of time on the next part. So this is a chopping and changing track where you're going to feel like some corners you're going to lose at and then some corners you will really gain at. It's a balancing act, this track. It's a very tough one. And honestly, I recorded this after a 10.5 hour shift. I was pretty pooped, but it gave me my run for my money. It doesn't look hard, but getting the world record is going to be another challenge in itself. So onto the right hand side we go for the S's, nice and tight here. Keep it tight to the apex if you can. Go really close to the right rumble strip and then flick it to the left hand side, but be very careful of a wheelie there. If you're accelerating too much, the bike will lift and you will be unable to chuck the bike into the left hand side for the continuation of the S's and then going into whites. So across the line once more, we're going to chuck it onto the right hand side, following the deeper line on the track, the racing line there if you will. If you do have the racing guide on, I guess that's going to tell you already, but for me I don't like it because it's not very accurate. But on the left hand side, nice and tight to the apex there this time, and then running it quite wide to get that sort of angled in for the corner for Clayton, and then going wider for turn 3 for Quebec, going for the tighter apex once again. You're going to see I'm going to slightly get ahead of the Ghost and then bring on the acceleration, and of course the Ghost will be really close behind me there because of the same different angle. You're sort of doing the same thing, it's just that you're getting more speed going into the corner or less speed on the out of the corner. It's a difficult one, trying to use everything I can possibly muster up to stop the motorcycle going into moss. Really difficult the corner to get right, and with the stock tyres that are heating up quite fast, you might have a tough time going into moss. But the same can be said now on the long straight. Continue to push, get into the left hand side of the track, going underneath the Canadian Tyre sign, and now onto the right hand side on the brakes. Pay attention to the bottom right corner of your screen. You can see how much brake is being applied just to slow the Tuono 1100 down, and we do manage to hold the line into the S's for the left-hander for turn 9, and now the right for whites for turn 10. Bring on the acceleration, keep well away from the rumble strip if you can, because you will lose a little bit of time when you start bobbling on it. So I do have a couple more laps for you, because honestly this one isn't as clear cut as the other tracks. As I mentioned before and the start of the video pretty much, there is not really braking zones I can give you, because this one's more of a feeling of a sensation of the track. If you feel like you can go into a corner carrying more speed, maybe it looks like you're going wide but you're actually going to pick up more speed on the exit, certainly give it a try. But at this point I had reduced the anti-wheelie now to 0, so zilch for anti-wheelie, zilch for TCS, simply just engine brake. That's all I'm going to be running for the next couple of laps. So onto the left hand side, nice and tight to the apex you can go. You can actually carry a little bit more power there if you want to. For me, I didn't really have the confidence. I did feel like I couldn't hold the line with the Tuono. Felt like I continued to bring on acceleration, it just wouldn't be able to brake in that corner. But if you have the stability on the front end with this Tuono, you'll probably get moss going into it with a little bit more speed. Not the easiest of bikes to ride, to be quite honest with you, but just keep on pushing and you'll get there. So right hand side, I want to show you the S's once again, because I'm going to go for a wider line this time to then cut back on the inside to get really close to the apex of the right hander, and now bring it into the left hander. So it's a balancing act once again. You see the different lines I'm showing you. Whatever you prefer to do, just try it and see what you think. So on the end of that last lap, I did cut the corner ever so slightly on the rumble strip, just touching the off part of the track. It does allow you to go on there, but not too much, so be very careful if you think you're going to run onto that part. If you're going to just run onto it and you think I'm going to completely invalidate it, then I guess it's back to the main menu and hit the restart. But for the time being, it didn't penalise me for that one, but we didn't improve either. So my lap times so far haven't been particularly special, which I'm not entirely impressed with, but the more important thing is that I'm trying to give you guys an explanation and give you an understanding of how best to tackle the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix. I'm hoping my lines will give you a good indication of where you need to be on circuits, rather than the actual vocal call-outs towards braking points and particular parts on the track. It's not a clear-cut track, this one, not at all. It's been very difficult for me to conjure stuff up to give you an explanation, but I'm certainly doing my best for the aces, because I want you guys to all get the gold lap time. So now into the S's, it's towards the end of the track, the third split, and I get your feeling at this point, you don't want to panic and you don't want to ruin the lap, so just stay focused, stay within the apexes, stay tight towards the S's on the right hander for turn 8, and then the same for the left hander for turn 9. Go into whites with confidence into turn 10, and bring on the acceleration to get across the line to hopefully improve your lap time. So this one's going to be the last one. This is going to be the last attempt now to find the ultimate line for the Canadian Tyre Grand Prix. Turn 1, pretty much a doddle at this point. You've probably tried it so many times, it's unreal. But we're now onto the left-hand side. Just found out you can actually go quite really tight to that apex. You can actually cut a little bit of the corner. Maybe it's something to use if you want to try and gain a few extra tenths. Now onto the right hand side, going for the middle part of the track, not too towards the apex or the rumble strip, trying to take the middle, and of course with the anti-wheelie off now you can see the bike trying to squirm a little bit upon the acceleration, but 1/1000th of a second down towards our previous lap time as we now go very firm on the brakes for Moss, super tight to the apex there, just using a little bit of rear brake just to slow the motorcycle down as well. And now on the picking up of the motorcycle, we chuck it to the left hand side, just thrashing the acceleration, trying to keep the Tuono upright and keeping it with a lots of speed. So Maniac Joe helmet acquired, Maniac Joe mode enabled for the final couple of corners. So underneath the Canadian Tyre sign we'll go right hand side now. We're running it a little bit wider to get the tighter apex towards the S's on the right hand side, a little bit over the rumble strip and now chucking it into the left hand side. Get prepared for the brakes for whites for turn 10, went a little bit too early that time maybe, but we're bringing on the acceleration, it's going to be very close towards the line, may not be an improvement but it's still going to be a very good lap. So there you go guys, those are my 8 lap times on screen right now. You can use those sector times to your advantage in working out how you're going to be towards the end of the lap and see if you can compare to my lap time as well. So not as jubilant as I would have wanted to be, a little bit disconsolate because we only finished in 2nd place, but shout out to Fernandez99 for taking the top spot. There has soon been a cheater on the leaderboard since this video, so bugger to them. But upon that note, thanks for watching guys, I hope this video has helped. If it has, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you especially enjoyed the video, why not hit the like button and also consider subscribing as well. We're on the charge for 2,500 subscribers, and I could do with your assistance. But upon that note guys, thanks for watching as always, plenty more content coming soon, so stay tuned, and I'll see you then. Ciao for now.
Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.